Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniatures. Today we have, well, what I had hoped would have been here on time, but the post office decided to take their sweet time bringing him. It is Illuminor Szeras. Szeras and his poor unfortunate victim there. So I'm sure you guys all know, 9th edition, yada yada yada. We're not going to talk about that. That would imply we actually play these games. But since we're stuck at home most of the time and I feel like I'm talking to myself in the third person, it's even stranger. Anyway, okay, yeah, so we have the Architect of Biotransference. Ooh, that sounds important. But honestly, just a whole lot of detail in this model. And I gotta say, I was never a fan of the original. He seemed kind of squat and squished on his little base. But this is impressive. This is what, to me, the Necrons should have been looking like from the very beginning. I could do without the gore and stuff, and that's just me being weird, because I don't really have a problem with intense violence and things like that, but to me it's just like, Anyway, I know he's doing his whole biotransference, but enough about my weird preconceived ideas of violence on the tabletop and all that nonsense. Let's take a look at what the model's actually like. Alright, first thing, this is a big base. This is like an 80mm base. He's going to take up a good amount of real estate, so that's a good thing. Feel like you get your money's worth sometimes. And then you have a full sprue, so you can see it's divided down the middle here. So like if you build a Warhammer Underworld set, it's usually 2 half sprues, or, you know, hero models usually just 1 half sprue itself, even if it's in a box. And this has lots of tiny wires and details, and honestly and truly that's going to be a fun challenge. Having built like the Morghast of whatever her name is, heck, even just building Eltharion, this is taking it to the next level. It's a lot of parts. I have no idea what his rules are. I can't read those languages, unfortunately, and every time I try to say something in French, people have problems with that. Illuminor Szeras es una miniatura única equipada con lanza arcana y piernas empaladoras. Okay, solo puedes incluir una miniatura. Alright, cool. It's nice if I can at least still read Spanish. My goodness, so we got a lot of steps here. 11 steps to build this guy. It looks complex, but I like it. No more Japanese on it. That's weird. Alright, well, I'm just going to build this sucker instead of going step by step, because it's going to take me all afternoon and I have other things that need to be done around the house. So I am going to grab these parts and we are going to get the Illuminor put together and we'll see how he turns out. Whoosh! Alright, so we managed to get Illuminor Szeras all finished here, and boy oh boy, that was a challenge. It wasn't so much that the parts didn't want to fit. We're not playing like Malifaux levels of tininess. Well, we are kind of almost. But the biggest issue was, number one, getting everything all lined up neat and nice. And you really, really, really need to make sure you give this stuff enough time to dry. Now, thankfully, just about everything really slotted in nice and neat. There were a couple of parts I really had no idea what went where or how it was supposed to attach, but eventually it kind of all made sense. The first one I want to point out to you is this tiny wire underneath his belly right here. I don't have a pointing stick, so I'm going to use my Mantic Spearman. Right there. This wire, it wasn't really clear. It's actually supposed to attach to the back of his spine. I thought it was supposed to go in one of the arm slots in there, but it actually didn't. So be aware of that. Hitting his hip joints and everything to put together, that was a challenge. Cutting out the parts to make the hands, like this one right here, this is actually a piece that glues onto the hand. The hand is 2 parts, and then you have to attach the underarm thing here, that little mini appendage that's part of his shoulder armor here. It actually all goes together to make like a syringe type thing. Yeah. The blood stuff, I mean, it's very precariously attached to the top of our priest's head and arms, even if I did that correctly. I have no idea, but it does work, and I put a couple extra gobs of glue in there just to kind of hold everything stable. Putting him on the base was probably the best idea. It doesn't seem like it's going to be that big of a challenge. I'm not going to give him the most fantastic paint job. We're not going to win any golden demons or crystal brushes, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. But I did go ahead, like I said, put a couple extra globs in those tiny precarious spots just to make sure everything goes on nice and neat and doesn't worry about snapping off. Outside of waiting for his legs to dry, it didn't seem to be too much of a challenge other than just getting everything fit. I absolutely would recommend getting a nice pair of needle nose tweezers or chopsticks or whatever you want to use to kind of position things into place, because it's going to be a challenge, especially like pushing the legs into the slots. His hip joints where they meet the spine was very, very minimal in terms of contact points. So you really want to make sure you got everything jammed in there nice and tight, because otherwise it will lead to problems. But yeah, I'm impressed with how he looks. He is a bit of a gluey mess on my part. I put one of the legs in the wrong spots originally because the directions were kind of confusing, but in the end he came out okay. So how does he stack up to other models? Well, I don't have any basic Necron warriors anymore. I'm waiting for the new ones. I do happen to have an immortal. No, it's a death mark. Sorry. And I've got the newer cryptic that my brother painted. Let's stick that there. Maybe zoom in a little bit. Give you guys a better look. See? So he's definitely big. He's definitely imposing. To me, this is just a cool boss monster for just about any sci-fi setting. He just looks neat, and it does get me eagerly anticipating the new stuff that's coming for 9th edition for the Necrons. Hopefully, the other newer stuff is going to be a little bit more newcomer-friendly than this guy was. I absolutely would not recommend, like, if my kids wanted to build something, I would not be giving that to them. Unfortunately, they have not inherited their father's fondness for building complex models, regardless of how well he may actually put them together. It's not something I think, unless you got the patience, you got the tools, and you've got at least some rudimentary skill in model building, I don't think it would be a good starting model kit for somebody. Gosh, I'm looking for a Space Marine. Why do I not have any Space Marines here anymore? That's weird. Well, at least we got the Necron Warrior. I do have my good old Witch Hunter friend, but that's the wrong genre. Oh boy. Let me see if I can find him. Alright, I found where I put him. So, grabbing both flavors of Marines there. Grabbing a couple other random models. If you're interested, it is a Feudal Guard from Maker's Cult, which makes a great knightly style Imperial Guardsman. A random old Tyranid that my brother painted. Why I have it, I don't know. And hopefully that should give you guys a good indication of what you're looking at size-wise. So, is he worth it? If you want a complex build, if you enjoy those kinds of challenges, I think it's definitely a bit more complex than your average GW kit. It's up there like with the Morghast, the Night Haunt Morghast, whose name is continually escaping me. Up there with Altharion. It's definitely a bit of a delicate challenge. If you have the patience, I mean, it's not like it was the most, it's not a Malifaux kit, let's put it that way. If you've built some of the crazier Malifaux stuff, you should know what I'm talking about. It's nowhere near that complex. Is it a challenge? Yeah. Is it doable? Absolutely. Is it something I would recommend to a teenager for their first kit? Probably not. I do hope that the new stuff in the 9th edition starter box, or whatever they want to call the box, is going to be a little bit more easy. I'm sure it's going to be push fit, but just cutting out the parts and stuff, considering how many crazy little wires, and like the parts on the hands were just nuts. Those are some of the smallest parts I think I've seen on a GW kit in a long time. But in the end, I'd say it's worth it. If you're able to get a good discount, if you're like me and you're constantly, you know, flipping models after you get bored of painting them or you haven't used them in a while, I think it might be a fun one. And just for the sheer difference of how it looks compared to a lot of the other stuff on the tabletop, If you've listened to me before, you know that I'm always looking for new and interesting kits, especially when they kind of break the mold and do something different. And in this case, when they took the old Szeras and made him into a big, giant, crazy-looking, multi-limbed monstrosity, that's right up my alley. So, thumbs up for that one. With that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching. We'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.